Hello everyone, my name is Bailey Schluter and we are here for a new installment of Spotlight on the Collection. I'm here with the new Executive Director of the McLeod County Historical Society, Brian Haynes. Yay!
Golf clap.
So this is going to be a little bit more of a casual. We're just going to chat. I'm going to ask Brian some questions. Some were submitted to our social media pages by our lovely followers. Thank you for that. And yeah, how you feeling?
I'm feeling just peachy, just dandy.
Peachy. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your previous experience in the museum field?
Okay. Well, like Bailey said, I'm Brian. I'm from Paynesville, Minnesota, which is about 45 miles north of here, roughly. I was the director of the Paynesville Historical Society. I did that for 4 years. I have a degree in history from St. Cloud State University, and I do have an associate's degree from Ridgewater College.
Which campus?
Wilmer.
Okay.
But I'm sure it's just as good as Hutchinson's campus.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm married, have a kid, 2 years old.
So what is it about local history that made you want to pursue this field? It's a very niche career.
I don't know if local history is the right term. It's more of I just like history in general. Mm-hmm. I love telling a story, especially a good story, but even a bad story, sometimes I can make,
Make it interesting.
Yeah, I'm a good talker, so. But yeah, I just love history. I love the stories, the entertainment value that comes with it that a lot of people don't see that. I like to think that us history nerds do. So.
Yeah, it's always fun talking to fellow history nerds.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We tell all the same jokes.
Yep, absolutely. And we laugh at them too.
That's true. Not everyone does. So a question we got from Twitter was, what was your first impression of the McLeod County Museum?
Well, it's definitely bigger than the one that I'm used to. There's a lot of working parts. I have to say I'm impressed with how many volunteers there are and how dedicated all those volunteers are. Some of the displays in the exhibit are very interesting. The Les Kuba Gallery is great. The Mummy.
The Mummy.
The Mummy is great.
Yep.
I love the Mummy. Just some of the Little Crow history, especially with Hutchinson in general. That tie-in there, I find that fascinating. So I have to say that I was very impressed, with the organization as well as the museum. So.
Oh, cool. So how was it transitioning from a city museum to a county-wide historical society? Or how is the transition? Because you've only been here a month.
I think the message that you give out in a city museum is a lot less broad than it is in a county museum. When you're in a city museum, you can say that this organization is for the betterment of this said city. When you're in a county organization, you're looking at many towns, townships, and cities, and you're trying to due diligence to all of them versus just one of them. And so that just kind of changes how you do things, the message that you're putting out there, what you're trying to sell. So I guess I would say that's the main difference I've noticed so far.
All right. So a question we got from Sarah on Facebook. Have you had much time to explore the area, and what do you think so far?
Well, I've seen the downtown, and I got to say the downtown is...
Downtown Hutchinson?
Yes,
okay.
is very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? It has that small town nostalgic kind of feel to it. I really like it. It's, in a way, it's like you're walking into 1950. You know what I mean?
All the shops.
Yeah, it's like got this big city Mayberry kind of feel to it. And so I really like the downtown. Otherwise, really just my drive-in is what I've seen, and a lot of wildlife.
A lot of wildlife.
I'm coming in at the right time for the migration coming north. And as I was going by the river this morning, there must have been about 100 geese sitting on the bike trail, and it just reminded me of people sitting on a beach, but it was geese. Some are in the water, some are up sunning themselves. And,
There are a lot of birds.
There are a lot of birds.
So
it's like an Alfred Hitchcock show.
It is. Oh man. Hopefully not the same
No,
plot.
probably not the same. These birds are a lot bigger. So.
So Ian asked on Facebook, you kind of already answered this, but do you have a favorite museum exhibit yet?
Les Kuba Gallery.
Yeah.
I'm an outdoorsman, and I've always loved Les Kuba prints. They just have such a sense of realism to them. There's always something in the print. There's there's a little candy wrapper or a piece of garbage laying in the ditch or something like that, and it just makes it so much more real. You can really connect to it, because when you're outside, even no matter where you go, you can almost always find a human presence in the terms of garbage or something or structure, and all of Les Kuba's prints have something like that. So yeah, I really like the Les Kuba Gallery.
I like how he sometimes personalizes his artwork too.
Oh,
Like he
absolutely.
puts himself in the
Absolutely.
portraits too. Okay, so now we're gonna do speed round. So
All right.
ask some more,
Can we
some
call
more
it
fun.
lightning round?
Lightning round.
Yeah.
Get some- So, what museums have been your favorite to visit, and why?
When I was a kid, we went to it was a military museum in Fort Lewis, Washington.
Okay.
And it was fairly big, and it's all military displays, and it wasn't, if I remember right, this was a long time ago, if I remember right, it wasn't just U.S. military. There was, some Native American displays, that kind of stuff. I think there was some British military displays, but they had their not models, their mannequins, and they were all, dressed in the official military uniform, from
Military dress.
Yeah, various eras, and it was just, it was really nice. They had a tank there, and as a little kid who loved the Army and G.I. Joe, it was just a great place. But that's one that really sticks out in my mind. The Stearns History Museum in St. Cloud is a really good one. The museum in my hometown. I've got to put a plug out to my hometown.
Yeah.
That's actually a great museum for a small town. And this one here in Hutchinson, the McLeod County Historical Society and Museum.
It is
of
a great
course,
museum.
is the great, and it's probably the best one I've seen so far. So.
Oh, you're going to get some angry emails from other museum directors. Or some nice ones.
Oh, yeah.
So, what's your favorite period in history or decade?
It's
a
hard.
hard question for
Yeah,
a
when
history geek.
when you're a history nerd, it's very hard to pin down a favorite era because you have many of them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the breakfast cereal. You don't have just one favorite breakfast cereal, so you buy the variety pack that has like 10 different little cereals in it. One of my favorites is probably when the land was first opened to settlers. From that 1851 to 1862 period. I've always found fascinating because the whole landscape of the state changes. Everything changes. Prior to that, you have a very, very strong native presence. Your main population is a native population, and you have your Métis, Red River ox cart drivers. You have, and you have your territorial government, your big wig white men that are trying to run everything, and they open up the land for settlement. And now you have the average Joes, the you, me, and you coming in, and it's just this period of transition. It's worthy of a Steven Spielberg epic, and it ends in probably the most tragic way possible
with
for
the Dakota
both
War.
the settlers and the Dakota Indians that are here. So I guess if I had to choose a favorite, if you're gonna make me choose, it would definitely be that era.
So, this isn't much of a lightning round so far.
No, it's not. You shouldn't give me a chance to explain my answers or whatever. Get out of here, so.
All right, favorite U.S. president?
Ike, I like Ike.
Okay.
Yeah, and Washington. Washington's a pretty good one too.
Well, he's the OG.
The hardest point for any nation is after that nation is created. That's your real test, because that's when you're most susceptible to a rebellion or something like that. And Washington was able to hold the country together. A lot of people will say Lincoln was maybe the best president, and he definitely was a great president, don't get me wrong, but Washington, for the fact that he was our first president, that he was given the opportunity basically to become a dictator and turned it down. He really was practicing what he had preached.
Yep.
And so I guess I'd have to put Washington. But yeah, I like Ike. The phrase is good, and the era he presided over was great. So.
So, do you follow Minnesota sports?
Unfortunately, I do.
We're doing all right. It's happening good.
Oh, we're doing all right, but the other shoe always drops. I watched the Wolves blow a nice first quarter lead last night, and that was sad. I watched the Vikings, blow.
Continuously fail.
Yeah, that's just,
We love the Vikings.
Yeah.
I love the Vikings.
I've been watching the Wild lose, and I gotta say, I think they could really pull it out if they just actually went out there and hit somebody. Like the North Stars would have.
Yep. But they're still your team.
Well,
and you still
no, the North
support
Star,
them.
my team's in Dallas,
yeah.
unfortunately. I won't
okay.
go off on that tangent, but I do, just being from Minnesota and being a stubborn homer, I'm always going to cheer for the Minnesota team, whether I identify with them.
Okay.
But yeah, I still
the-
like that old N with the star above it. But right now, the Twins, of course, are playing, and I'm a big Twins fan, and I watched all 16 innings last night, and much to my wife's dismay.
See, I didn't even know the Twins played last night.
Oh yeah, it was a great game. It was 0-0 up until I think the 11th or 12th, and then each team scored a home run, and then they went all the way into the 16th. And
that sounds so boring.
And my new favorite Twin, at least for this week, got a nice base hit and drove Eddie Rosario into home, and it was a great game.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed yourself.
I did.
How do you take your coffee?
Black, very black.
See, that was a quick answer.
Tar.
What, you like to chew your coffee?
Kinda, yeah.
What are your hobbies?
I really like the outdoors. In the fall, when the ducks start flying south, you'll find me in the marshes, in the ponds, and on the lakes. In the summer, I love to be out fishing. In the winter, I love to be out fishing. In the spring, I love to fish. Fall, I take a break, and do a little hunting. But I like canoeing. I like walking in the outdoors. I just like everything outdoors.
That's cool. So this is the last question, but it's a toughie.
Right.
If you could go back in time and meet any historical figure, who would it be?
I told you don't ask me anything that's going to give you a long answer. Gosh, I don't know. There's so many
I know.
figures, especially perplexed figures in history that I'd love to. Some of them I just love to shake their hand. Some of them I'd love to get their autograph. Some of them I'd like to ask why.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask in 1975 and the NFC divisional round. I'd like to ask that referee, why did you not call a penalty on that push-off on the Hail Mary pass? Yeah, you wouldn't. I wasn't alive either, but I'm enough of a sports
that's
fan
not what
that
I
I know
meant,
about. Love to ask Norm Green why he moved my North Stars. I don't know. That's such a tough question to answer.
I think you gave a good answer.
A good answer?
I think so.
Well,
'Cause
it was mostly revolved around sports, but
But that's your interest, so and
Yeah.
that's what you follow. So why not? And with Lindsay Whalen coaching the Gopher girls now, we might have to follow that.
there you go. Yeah, you know what I'd really love to do? I'd love to go back in time and just follow my grandpa around for a day
Okay.
when he was about 5 or 6, or not even, when he was a teenager. I'd love to just follow him around, and he wouldn't have to know I was there. But I'd love to just follow him around and see what he see what life was like in my hometown in the 1940s.
That's cute.
Very cute. I know.
All right, well, that's all I have. Was there anything else you wanted to share? Or?
Geez, not off the top of my head.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
fine.
is there anything else you'd like to share?
Well, the museum has its then and now fashion show
That's true.
on April 29th at 2 at the McLeod County Historical Society. We're featuring fashions from decades past all the way back to the 1920s, I think, and maybe a little further back. But also some local businesses, Lillian's and so on, will be presenting what's fashionable now. That'll be a really fun
Yeah,
evening,
absolutely.
I think.
Oh, and we do have the pork chop dinner coming up in June. That's a little bit out there yet. But
Around Water Carnival time.
yeah, it's June 11th. It's on a Monday. It starts at 4:30. And we are actually, or I you know, my first executive decision was let's move this thing outside and turn it into a barbecue. And so hopefully it quits snowing by then. And and we can have this outdoors. If we can't, if it's raining that day or snowing, or, you know, it's Minnesota, so we could be having a tornado or a hurricane or an earthquake, you name it. We can always
It can
move
happen.
back. Yeah, we can move back and say, hey, if the Cubs can win the World Series, we can have an earthquake.
I love that's the standard. If the Cubs can win the World Series,
if the Cubs can win the series,
anything can happen.
Yep. Except for the Vikings making it all the way. That just,
Too soon.
yeah, too soon.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. Next time the next segment of Spotlight and Collection will feature only Brian. Maybe we'll see what he has up his sleeve. But until then, thank you.
Thank you.